You are 34 years old and your hands are perpetually stained with the kind of grease that does not wash off with regular soap. You spent 18 years of your life hauling freight and turning wrenches across the Southwest. You have a clean record, a CDL, and a small independent shop in a dusty corner of Arizona where you specialize in heavy-duty diesel engines. Your life is measured in torque, oil changes, and the steady hum of a well-timed transmission. But for the last 2 years, that hum has been drowned out by the silence of a house where your wife is slowly dying of lupus, a disease that has moved into her kidneys and turned your existence into a frantic, losing race against the clock. The medication alone costs $4,000 a month, and insurance is a joke that covers only half while you desperately try to cover the rest by working 20-hour days until you are running on empty. You are $80,000 in debt, the bank is calling about the mortgage on the shop, and your daughter has been forced to drop out of her junior year of college to help you manage the dialysis appointments 3 times a week. You are watching your family drown in a sea of red ink, and you are the only one who can throw a rope, but every rope you reach for is already frayed to the breaking point. The shift happens on a Tuesday at a truck stop outside Tucson, where the air smells of diesel exhaust and stale coffee. A man named Carlos approaches you. He looks like someone's father, polite and professional, wearing a polo shirt that suggests he's a mid-level manager for a logistics company. He knows your name, he knows about your wife's failing kidneys, and he knows that you are the best diesel mechanic within 300 miles. He offers you a job that is supposedly simple. One run, $20,000 in cash, no questions asked. You know exactly what no questions means in this zip code, and you say no, walking back to your truck with a heart hammering against your ribs. But then you go home and watch your wife struggle to breathe, and you see the pile of final notices on the kitchen table, and you realize that in your world, empathy is just a bad investment for the banks. A week later, you call the number on the card Carlos left behind. You tell yourself the oldest lie in the criminal handbook, just this once. Your first job isn't transport, it's a technical issue at a warehouse in Phoenix. They bring you a heavy-duty pickup truck with a shattered window and a suspension that's groaning under a weight it wasn't built to carry. Your mission is to weld PVC tubes inside the frame, sealed with carbon paper to ghost the scanners, and to reinforce the floorboards to hide compartments that smell faintly of something sweet and chemical. You work for 6 hours, your hands shaking for the first 40 minutes until the familiar rhythm of the welder takes over and muscle memory suppresses your conscience. When you finish, Carlos hands you an envelope with $20,000 in hundreds, more money than you've held in your life, and you use it to pay 3 months of medical bills before the sun even comes up. You hide the rest of the cash in a bag of dog food in the shop's storage room because spending it all at once would make it real, and keeping it hidden lets you pretend it's temporary. But word travels inside the organization the way it travels in any company. When you do good work, management notices, and your name moves up a list you will never see. Within 3 months, you aren't just a mechanic. You are a logistics node in a supply chain that ends with people dying. Carlos calls you at 2 a.m. on a Thursday, a time that in your town usually means a rancher has a dying cow. But now it means a friend has a vehicle that needs an urgent modification. You stop treating regular customers and tell the neighbors you're specializing in expensive, high-end performance tuning to explain the locked doors and the constant flow of armored black SUVs. You graduate from simple hidden compartments to building monstros, armored trucks with high-caliber, lead-resistant steel plating welded to the chassis. You learn the specific math of weight versus protection, calculating how much 5/8-inch steel a transmission can handle before it shreds itself on a mountain road. You are no longer just a man who fixes engines. You are an architect of mobile fortresses. You install secret firing ports, reinforced bumpers for ramming through police checkpoints, and specialized suspension systems to account for the 3 extra tons of armor you've bolted to the frame. Your shop has 2 rooms now. The front is for the occasional civilian oil change to keep up appearances, but the back is where you spend your nights in a haze of metal sparks and blue smoke, turning everyday work trucks into weapons of war. The money stacks up until the dog food bag is overflowing, and you have to move the cash into a hole in the floor beneath your father's old desk. You have over $300,000, but you still drive the same battered truck, still wear the same greasy boots, and still eat at the same taco stand because spending the money would be an admission of what you've become. Your wife notices the weight loss and the hollow look in your eyes. But when she asks if the shop is okay, you lie to her face with a smile that feels like glass cracking. You are saving her life with blood money, and the irony is so sharp you could cut yourself on it. By the 2nd year, Carlos asks for more than just armor. He wants strategic hardware. You are tasked with integrating drones with explosive payloads and mining service roads with IEDs to protect the organization's mountain routes. You realize that you have moved past being a participant in a crime. You are now a vital component of a multinational criminal enterprise, a fixed asset on the company balance sheet. When you try to put in your notice, thinking you can just hit end shift and go back to your old life, the recruiter gives you a fatherly smile that chills your bones. He pulls out a phone and shows you a picture from that morning. Your daughter walking into her new college campus, smiling and totally clueless. He explains the HR policy. In this industry, there is no such thing as voluntary resignation. You know too much. The routes, the faces, the technical specifications of their entire fleet, and you realize that your success didn't buy your freedom. It just proved you were too profitable to be free. You spend your 4th year in a gilded cage of your own making. You have a handler now, a man named Raul who accompanies you to the feed store and the supermarket under the guise of protection. But you know he is your jailer. Every person who tries to get close to you, a new neighbor, a fellow mechanic at a trade show, becomes a photograph in a file, leverage with a heartbeat that the organization can use against you. You see your cargo on the news, a mass shooting in Guerrero where a monstro you reinforced was used to ramp a police station, leaving 12 people dead, including teenagers on their way to a football match. You sit in your shop and watch the report 3 times, trying to calculate the math of your wife's life against the strangers who died because of your steady hands. The uncertainty is a kind of torture, but the logic you use to survive is a perfectly set trap. The machine would run without you, the weapons would flow without you, and the only difference is that your family would be destroyed. You tell yourself this every night as you drink whiskey to quiet the noise in your head, trying to forget that the house your mother lives in was built with the interest on a debt of blood. The complexity of your responsibility grows as you are promoted to a regional logistics chief, overseeing 3 states of distribution routes and production facilities. You manage a team of younger mechanics, men who are exactly like you were, desperate, in debt, and one sick relative away from total collapse, and you give them the same pitch you received, spreading the compromise like a virus. You are a king of a mountain made of bones, sitting in an office with glass walls, managing spreadsheets that track kilos of product and crates of rifles as if they were auto parts. You have millions of dollars buried in holes you'll never fully dig up, and 6 different passports with plausible new identities, but you realize that the world is much smaller than you thought when you are a loose end. You are now the man who knows where every single dollar is buried and how every armored vehicle is keyed, which makes you the biggest liability of all. Your paranoia is non-stop. You check your car for GPS trackers every morning and masturbate in the bathroom with the shower running because it's the only place where there might not be a camera. You know that loyalty in the underworld is a myth, but blackmail is a guarantee, and you have spent years keeping receipts on every corrupt official and rival commander you've dealt with, just in case. One night, the phone rings at 2 a.m., an unknown number that you answer without hesitation because the word no has been removed from your vocabulary. It isn't Carlos this time. It's the inner circle of the boss, a man you've only heard of in whispers, and they want you to come to a ranch 3 hours from the city. They don't tell you why, but they mention that your wife looks healthy lately and that they saw her at the market. Your blood turns to ice. You realize that you aren't being called for a promotion. You are being called for a restructuring. You think about the rookie mechanics who look up to you the way you once looked up to your father, and you wonder if they'll ever understand that the math of this life never actually works out. You head for the coast in the pouring rain, waiting for a boat that was supposed to be your ticket to a fresh start. But instead of a captain, you are greeted by a tactical squad. It wasn't a satellite or a drone that tracked you. It was an inside leak, a protege you raised like your own son who has already cut a deal with the new administration to liquidate you as a toxic asset. As you sit in the back of a black SUV heading toward a destination that won't be on any map, you realize the final irony. The entire empire you helped build, every monstro and every hidden compartment, was just the accrued interest on a debt you signed with your own blood years ago. You saved your wife's life, but you destroyed the world she has to live in, and as the darkness of the desert swallows the vehicle, you realize that there is no discharge from this job, only an expiration date that has finally arrived.